What's up guys, you're watching Tug TV.
And this is the post-gig analysis of Nitro, live in Bangalore. So Nitro's been on tour to support the reunion after almost a period of 25 years.
So this gig of course took place at the Humming Tree in Indiranagar. It happened on the 22nd of this month. For those of you who do not know who Nitro is, we have a pre-gig video log that we have done. You can check that out. There's a link in the description below.
And a link on top as well.
Coming down to the show itself, we were on scene at about 8 o'clock. That is when we entered the place. There was a bit of a line, a bit of a queue, and we had to queue up over there. You had to provide identification along with your ticket and a stamp on your wrist. Yeah, we were waiting outside for roughly an hour. The gates opened at about between 8:45 and 9 o'clock. That's when we went in. I don't know if you've been to the Humming Tree. There is a place on top, and then there's an entrance which goes to a basement, and that's where this show was taking place. Essentially, it is the same place where Deathfest happened. Again, we've covered that, link in the description if you want to check out what the area was like.
First to hit the stage was the Yummy Labs, and trust me, there's a very different experience than watching your normal live bands play.
So the Yummy Lab is not a conventional band with 3-piece, 4 or 5-piece. This was a one-man show, essentially. Yogendra, again, link in the description. You can check out his music and his act. So essentially what this was one guy with a couple of keyboards, synthesizers and a laptop. And yes, the first impression you get when you look at this setup is that he's probably a DJ.
Yeah, it resembles a lot the setup per se.
Absolutely, but unlike a DJ, this guy did have some heavy stuff to offer.
Due to this unusual setup, the crowd was initially skeptical. Like, you could see them, giving looks at the guy and going like, okay, what's going on? Like, it does happen. Like, when you see something very different like this, when you're used to just, two guys coming up with guitars and the guy behind the drums, this is different for them. But somehow the transition was really good. Compared to from when he started off to the time wherein he actually got the audience invested in what he was doing and kind of started cheering on.
He also had good skill in terms of communicating with the audience, always, talking to them, keeping the situation light.
Alright, godless. Yeah! I'm dying, see.
Yeah! He also did have a little bit of technical issues where I think one of his devices got off just before the show started, but that was handled, and after that we didn't have any issues apart from that. Because along with him, he had accompaniments. He had
a few musicians who were actually helping him out as well.
Yes. There was one guy with vocals, and there were two different guitarists who
actually
played with him. Yes. It was an associated act, but on the whole, it was pretty good.
Might not be the best premise for a band like Nitro,
maybe,
but yeah, it worked.
If I had to hear the Yummy Lab in like a club on any other random day, I would be interested because the music is good. It is very heavy. It's just that maybe this was Nitro and people came expecting something, and we're not expecting this. We're not sure, but all in all, you should definitely check this guy out. And either way, the Yummy Lab will continue to tour with Nitro throughout their tour of India and Nepal.
Next, the moment that everybody was waiting for. It was time for Nitro to take the stage.
Minor technical issues. Initially when they started off, there was a little bit of jarring in the sound system. My only gripe was the lights. I don't know what the lights man was thinking, but then it's very difficult to watch a show with a white light just blaring into your face. This is what it looked like if you were at the back of the stage watching the show. And apart from this, even when we were up front, these lights keep rotating, and some of them were a little too bright that, it hits you once, hits you twice. After that, it just gets a little annoying. The good thing is that it was toned down later during the show as Nitro played. So, Lightsman. So, Nitro took the stage, opening with their famous song from the 80s, Freight Train.
And there was one small element of it which was missing, which was the entry solo. This is something that we will come across in the video later on because we have an analysis on it.
That's right. We want to talk about it. The show was energized. People were having a really good time, and that's essentially what the show was. It was a good time. You know, you had Gillette on stage, having fun with the audience. You had Michelangelo Badio just shredding constantly.
And then don't forget Chris Adler.
Yep.
He just blew the whole stage away.
Absolutely.
And this is something which was very different for a lot of Nitro fans.
Yeah, that's
You know,
right.
Seeing the extra groove which is added by somebody like Chris Adler to it kind of ups the game a lot.
Matt DeVries also was part of the show since he is their touring member, and he was pretty great too. I mean, very little to complain about Matt DeVries.
Yeah.
Awesome guy on the bass guitar, holding it all together, and the crowd was going nuts. Contrary to conventional shows when a band comes on and then they play their own stuff, Nitro played their own stuff initially.
Yes.
But then they took a different route through the show. You know, they moved into playing a lot of covers.
Like probably out of 10 songs, a band might play 8 originals and 2
And
covers.
covers, yeah, that's right.
This was the other way around.
So right after their original stuff, they then went on to slow things down with an amazing cover of Johnny Cash's Hurt. Link in the description again, we've captured that entire song. Definitely have to check it out. It was one of the best sounding covers I have ever heard, and Jim Gillette totally owns this one.
They went on to play much more heavier things like Megadeth's Symphony of Destruction.
Yeah, and that happened immediately after Hurt. You know, people
Exactly.
are like going, hey, okay, you know, Johnny Cash, and then suddenly you have the orchestra.
That
and then
change
you-
of gear from just put it on the overburn and started off.
Absolutely, that really got the crowd jolting over there. There were a lot more covers that were played throughout the evening. We had covers from Metallica, we had covers from Lamb of God,
Black
Sabbath, that's right. And also apart from this, you know, there was some amount of time that was dedicated towards MAB, as Michelangelo Badio, and there was a brief moment when Michelangelo took the stage on in solo. And he played the very famous song No Boundaries. Michelangelo Badio is a brand by himself.
Exactly. And it helps push the whole brand factor of Nitro now. Because
That's
when
true.
they're entering back to the market after probably a period of 2 decades, it does help when you have a lead. Through the 80s and 90s, it was Michael who was actually carrying the flag of it.
That's
He has done countless number of guitar videos, guitar clinics, live shows, all the things. I mean, we personally have learned a lot of
We
things
have
from his
also learned
videos.
a lot of stuff just looking at Michelangelo Badio's videos. So then, of course, it was time for the famous weapon of mass destruction, the double guitar. It was really fun to watch because a random guy just walked up from stage and was helping Michelangelo help set up his guitar over there. That was really cool.
And then that must have been like the moment of his life for that guy to just go on stage with him and then be like, here you go.
You, whoever you are a fortunate man. You held the double guitar. We then moved towards Adler's roots with songs like Redneck that were played, and that got the crowd going mental. There was a huge mosh pit when the song started.
And this is something that we kind of need to talk about a little bit because when you see Jim Gillette, you don't actually figure, a person who can pull off the vocals for Redneck.
Think about Nitro as a band when they started off. Jim Gillette had amazing vocal range.
Exactly.
Now, over the years, it's called aging, you know, the range might have changed, but what he has now is amazingly good death metal vocals. He can growl, and it sounds really good.
And also that the main thing which you have to think about is the factor of change in the musical aspect as well.
Eventually.
Back then, the band were more focused upon getting chicks and just going that. That was the only note which anybody concentrated on.
There is a point in the show when Michelangelo Badio actually admitted that he started the double guitar to get chicks. Things came to curtain call with the final song of the night, and that's their new one called It Won't Die.
Yeah.
There's a link in the description below. Again, if you haven't heard it, you definitely have to hear this song.
Also, this is part of the new crowdfunding album.
That's right.
And you guys can be a part of it too. For links, check down below.
We mentioned earlier in this video log that we're going to come back to the point of solos, the fact that MAB played a very cut short
version of Freight Train.
Yeah.
And also, this is something which all of the people who are expecting these crazy guitar solos need to think about. Oh, there is a point of frame reference wherein it is a collective band right now. It is no
Yes,
longer
that
single
is true.
artists who are just trying to portray themselves.
What has to be kept in mind is when you listen to the new song, it is
Exactly.
evident that the band has gone through an evolution process. So you look of the Nitro back in the 80s, it was mindless solos, It was extremely high vocal ranges, but that really didn't go anywhere.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
Nitro really missed the bus back in the day. But if you look at them now, Jim Gillette, he has that vocal range, but now he has also acquired the ability to ground. He has really good death growl vocals. But don't forget, Michelangelo Beatty is not just a mindless shredder. He's someone who can write really, really good riffs.
Exactly.
And that's what we get to hear.
Yeah, and this is one aspect of songwriting which these guys have under their belts right now.
Yeah.
They can form really good songs, and these are hard hitting.
And let's not forget, they now have Chris Adler.
Exactly. That becomes one of their most destructive weapons, for lack of better
Absolutely.
words. Because he's somebody who can provide that extra factor to them which might not have been there when they were there with the previous band.
That is true. And then the versatility that they have now is miles ahead of what they had earlier. So all in all, a great show, a fun show. That's essentially what this
Exactly.
was. We had a lot of fun. The crowd also had a lot of fun. Coming to the crowd, I would say that the crowd is a little thin for this show. We expected to have a jam-packed audience, but it wasn't. We had roughly around 100, 150 tops.
Since we had been in the location just a few weeks before for
Yes, for
Deathfest,
Deathfest.
and we had expected that there was going to be
Chaos.
yeah, just
We
chaos on the
expected
floor
chaos,
because
wasn't it?
we thought that there were so many people that they couldn't handle it.
The upside is that because the crowd was thin, you could at any time go back, grab yourself a beer, grab a snack, and then you could come back and you're like seeing the show right up front. Another good thing is because it was a slightly thin crowd, the band also was able to like interact. It's a really small stage, so we also had to be careful around that stuff. I am not sure what is the reason for such a thin crowd.
Exactly.
There is also a possibility that it just became covers and having a good time because the crowd is too thin. We don't know.
Yeah, we're not exactly sure and cannot
It
comment
also
on
could
this
be
yet.
that they came to have a good time and that's what they did. But one thing I can think of is I feel that the third phase of tickets were a little too
Yes.
expensive. You could have had more people who would have come for the show if it would have been either the phase
Yes.
1 or phase 2 pricing. I was okay with the phase 2 pricing as well, but then the phase 3 could have put a lot of people off. And
And
that's
also,
probably
it might
what happened.
also be on the artists on the bill. Since there were only
Yeah.
two of the artists who were actually performing, it kind of does come down to the other factor of the financials.
We had good food, good beer, and a great show from Nitro. Totally kick-ass. Nitro will continue their tour of India and Nepal. They next play in Mumbai on 28th of this month.
After which they'll be back both to Delhi and Kochi, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, that's right. But in between they play at Kathmandu. I think they play in Kathmandu on 27th. So that's somewhere in between. I don't know how it's going to be managed, but those are the essential 3-4 places that they're going to be at.
If you are present in any of these places, make sure to go check out Nitro because it's an absolute treat to see them live.
The reason why we would want you to watch this band on stage now is because they are a different band compared to who they were earlier. So when you go out there to see Nitro, do not keep this image of this glam metal, hair metal band that you'd seen in the 80s. They have evolved, they've come of age, they sound amazingly good. Their new stuff is heavy, it's metal, and it is worth the time, effort, and money that you're going to be investing in this. The double guitar.
So how many of you were present at the show? Let us know what you felt.
And if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. Do subscribe to us as well. There's a link in the description below. You can subscribe to us. And as always, stay metal.